So first, thank you so much for joining us in the Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Our first kickoff show is for Jackie Robinson Day. So can't think of a better person to talk to. And, just tell the viewers kind of what Jackie Robinson Day means to you and what Jackie Robinson's legacy means.
Wow. Well, first off, just the disclaimer here. My father-in-law was the last living member of the 47 Brooklyn Dodgers, Ralph Branca, that played with Jackie. Jackie lived in Stamford, Connecticut for a while during his adult life. I was the manager of the New York Mets in '97 when they retired his number throughout the league. Or the leagues, and all of my friends used to go to the concerts at Jackie's house. He used to have jazz concerts during the summer. I was playing baseball at the time, so I wasn't lucky enough to do that.
Oh man, jazz concerts at the Robinson house.
Yeah. They say they were spectacular, and right around the corner from where I live now. And I just wish I could have done that. Sharon and Rachel talk about it all the time, and it's quite. It means a lot to me. Jackie, breaking the color barrier, of course, was paramount, not only for race relationships in the United States, but also for the betterment of the game of baseball at the major league level. It was so many great players were allowed to play in the major leagues, regretfully, because they all played in the major leagues. The great Negro leagues, as they were formed back in the 30s, 40s, kind of became extinct. But, Jackie was the man, and probably one of the greatest honors back in the back there is a portrait done by a guy named Bobby Bragan's his niece did that portrait when I got the Bobby Bragan Award, which was the same year that I got the Branch Rickey Award. And of course, Branch Rickey was the linchpin who made it all happen back in the 40s.
Wow. Yeah, of course. I mean, so recently I just found out that the Jackie Robinson story, the movie, is actually available for free to watch online. And so to see the portrayal of Jackie as himself with Branch Rickey and kind of what he all went through, it was just so paramount to exactly the words that you said. Something else that you brought up and kind of going back a bit is 1997. It's the New York Mets. They're retiring the jersey number. Can you just take us through that day and kind of what it was like?
Well, it was an amazing day in that the president came in to my office and around the clubhouse. President Clinton, he was an amazing character. Somehow he knew the script. He knew where everyone was from. He knew what position they played. He was terrific with my coaches, myself, my players. He then had the ceremony on the field where number 42, unless you were already wearing it, you could never wear it again. The Mets at the time had a third baseman outfielder named Butch Husky, who wore number 42 proudly, and he continued to wear that while he was a Met. And of course, across town, I believe the last player to wear it was at the time was wearing it for the Yankees, and that was Mariano Rivera.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, what an honor now for every player to get to wear 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. And unfortunately, right, like there's no baseball happening this year given the circumstances, but it is great that we're able to come together even though we are apart. So do you have anything to say to maybe the kids who are watching who wish they were also out on a baseball field today? Not being able to play, but are really eager to get out there. Do you have any words for them or ways that they can still practice?
Well, you can still practice, especially if you have a little yard that you could go out in, or if you have a room where you could just swing a bat, even in a basement or a larger room. It's very difficult, though, even for kids who are in the country and they have the backyard. Baseball is a game where you need more than one, where you need to have a guy pitching and a guy hitting, and then even a guy or two fielding. So I think the game is being being played in people's minds, which isn't so bad because no one has to lose their mind by striking out. They can always hit a home run, and my words to those who are struggling by not playing is to think about the good things. Think about those good swings that you had, those good pitches that you made. Think about the fine catch and the fine throw that you made. And the more that you live them in your mind, the better you're going to be when you try to do them again in reality.
And something else that you had mentioned, which is a big foundational part of Club 42, is Ralph Branca and his friendship with Jackie Robinson. And I have them both. I don't know if you can see on this poster behind me, but it's both of their faces, honoring what Club 42 stands for. Do you have any, you mentioned the jazz concerts, but do you have any fun stories about Ralph that you'd like to share?
Oh, Ralph was an amazing character. He, like Jackie, both went to college back in the 40s and that wasn't really the norm. He, like Jackie, was a multi-sport star. He played basketball at NYU. Jackie ran track and played football at UCLA along with his baseball prowess. And they had a great deal of respect for each other, both on the field and off the field. And, interestingly enough, on 9/11, Ralph was at the Gracie Mansion in downtown Manhattan for a 10:15 ceremony that never happened, where they were going to dedicate a statue to Jackie Robinson down in Lower Manhattan. And Ralph wound up walking out of the city on 9/11. He was in his 70s. He walked over the Brooklyn Bridge until he finally was able to flag a cab and get home to Westchester. So, Jackie was the man as far as Ralph was concerned. He had to put up with so much nonsense, not only from the fans and the other players, but even from some of his own players. And Ralph was one of those one of those true intelligent people out there who knew that the right thing was happening and persuaded so many of his teammates and fellow baseball players that it was the right thing to break that color barrier and not only allow Jackie, but allow many to come.
Well, and it's so important for people to be advocates. And so for Ralph to advocate for Jackie at that time, I think even Rich Robinson has spoken to that, as like she says, Ralph was friendly when it wasn't fashionable to do so. And I think it's really powerful for all of us to advocate for people who need it, particularly for this program. Like, we're advocating for kids who may not have the ability to have the resources to go to school now that it's all moved online. And, I think that everyone can make an impact. So, why was this such an important cause for you? And, what really spoke to you about that?
Well, when John Branca, Ralph's oldest nephew, decided to take on Club 42 to keep the memory of Jackie alive, but also to perpetuate the friendship that Ralph and Jackie had in a time when it wasn't fashionable for a white guy and a black guy to be friends. And I think that kind of giving spirit is what Club 42 personifies, and I think it's going to have a lasting impression on many lives in the future. And I'm just happy to have a chance to be part of it.
Oh, thanks for saying that, because I think Club 42 is so important to me, and it's so near and dear to my heart. And the work that we've done and are continuing to do, even with just this live stream, trying to innovate and create ideas to help others, I think that's really what Jackie's legacy was about leaving that positive impact. So one more note. So I love stories, and one of my favorite things, I was a softball player, as you know, and I played in college D1 level, and I loved being in the dugout with my teammates and just kind of hearing what everyone had to say and listening to all those stories that when you're shagging balls go on forever. So do you have any fun baseball stories that you could share with the viewers so they can get a chance to feel like what it is in the clubhouse?
Wow. If I go all the way back to when another friend of Jackie's, Tommy Lasorda, was managing me in 1969 in AAA before Tommy was Tommy, before Bobby was Bobby, I guess. You know, he took the entire team into the clubhouse one day. And the reason we all went into the clubhouse before batting practice was over is because I was a young 19-year-old shortstop making an error a day at least. And the older pitchers on the team didn't want to pitch when I was playing shortstop. And we're trying to demand this young first-year AAA manager to make out a lineup a little different than he was making out the lineup. And that would be without me in it. And so in this little clubhouse in Spokane, Washington, Tommy called a meeting. He had everyone sit in front of the locker. And after using a few of his choice profanities, he decided that the best thing for everyone in that team to do was to get a pen and paper and go stand in front of my locker and get my autograph, because when I was playing in the big leagues, most of those guys would be carrying a lunch bucket in their hometown. Well, that was a clubhouse story.
I love that. You know what? Tommy Lasorda is one of the greatest speakers to hear, by the way. And something that I always remember is he ends every speech with one of these kind of anecdotal stories. And then he says, and don't forget, when you say your prayers at night, say, God bless Tommy and God bless the Dodgers. I love it every time.
Every speech he ever made, that's how he ended it. And, you know, I've heard a million of them, and I wish I could hear a million more.
You know what? Absolutely. I think that that's one of those great things about the baseball community being so small and supporting each other, is that we all kind of get to have those similar experiences, which are so special.
Yes, we do. And, you know, we think that they should be private, but the more that we could share the experiences, the more we could bring people into the clubhouse, onto the field, and get a feel for what baseball is all about. It's a real giving sport.
It really is. And you know what? On that note, I thank you so much for joining our clubhouse so that we can give those viewers at home a feel for it, because I know that at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons why we love this sport so much, is just being able to be around each other and what we get from one another, but also what we give. So thank you for giving your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a spectacular job. Keep it going, girl.
We're going to keep it going. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Stay safe.